Welcome to RotoGrinders Today. I'm Jordan Cooper, a.k.a. BlenderHD, BlenderHD. You're going to follow me on Twitter. And it's Tuesday, November 5th. And we'll be taking a look at tonight's NHL DFS slate on DraftKings, especially with no basketball going on. We got a big contest on DraftKings, the 555, the election night, barn bash, whatever they're calling it. I got a ticket to it. I'm playing one lineup into that 555. So let's talk about how you attack that on this slate. Hit that thumbs up button on your way in the door. Hit the thumbs, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to know when we go live. Join with me since we're talking NHL. It's Tim Buell, who is already posting stuff in the NHL Discord. You should definitely be joining that, rotogrinders.com/Discord. I know there may be a lot of new people today with no NBA, no MLB, not much going on other than NHL. Tim, do you like these days where kind of from the DFS perspective, NHL is kind of like front and center?
I do and I don't. I mean, I do because NHL gets a lot of coverage, but I don't because we get these contests. Like, it's cool to play that 555. Like, I might make 3. I've already signed up for 1. I might make 2 more. But like the prize structure is just so awful. That's like what really, bothers me is like, if you made that like 100K to first, you could have that confidence be like so much better payout structure. So
I looked at the $20 one. The $20 one, it's 50K to first, then 15,000, then 5. Like, if you come in 7th, you get a handshake or something.
If you come in 6th,
but I'm just playing 1 today.
If you come in 6th in the 555, you don't even you barely even 10x. Like you don't even 6x. I think it's like 3K to 6th place or something like that. I mean, it's tough. I just really wish they'd kind of run more of these and just kind of flatten out the structure a little bit.
Well, that means we just got to win first place, Tim. We got to.
We got to.
So how are we going to do it? Let me put this up on the screen. I'm producing myself. Okay, there we go. We got it up on the screen. We got lineup HQ. We got our starting lineups page. We got our DFS stack value page. You can get all of this if you're a Combo Premium member, right? Go sign up for that below. Get $40 off your first month. rotogrinders.com/premium. Hit that link in the description. We already got big news. Big news in the Discord. I know I say join the Discord. There's no point in looking at Twitter. Anything that you'll ever need to know about NHL is going to be in our Discord. So I don't even have a list. But the first thing I saw is Leafs PR, 10:20, Austin Matthews not available for tonight's game and is day-to-day. We got some, Alexander Romanov news. We got stuff like that. Obviously, Austin Matthews being, obviously high-price goal scorer for the Leafs. That's going to leave a lot of time on ice and shots available for the Leafs today. I think Domi is going to come into the first line. I don't think we have it updated on our starting lineups page just yet. Is it the type of thing that with Austin Matthews out of the first line? I mean, is this that great of a matchup? I mean, we have Swayman as like the value goalkeeper on the slate also. To me, it makes me more likely to play Swayman than necessarily look to, stack up the Maple Leafs now.
Yeah, 7,300 for Swayman all of a sudden looked a little bit better. Definitely with no Matthews and Domi replacing him on that top line is a humongous downgrade. It'll have other effects on the slate as a whole as well, but we'll get to that in a minute. So I was going to attack this Bruins team. This Bruins team is not the same as it once was. They don't have the depth pieces that they once had. They're one of the they've been allowing a lot of goals also, and I think that they've been taking a lot of penalties as well. So they're a heavily penalized team. I think they rank first in penalty and minutes per game. So I was going to attack the Boston Bruins, but now with no Austin Matthews, I'm really not as inclined to do that.
Here's a question I got for you, Tim. Okay, Max Domi moves on to the first line, but does play time? I mean, like, the thing is, with Matthews off the power play, you still got Tavares and Nylander there. You're going to still need a center. Is it much more likely that Tavares just steps in and maybe Domi? I mean, because they're one of the few teams that like a defenseman is not on the power play 1 unit. Is it the type of thing? Do you think Domi plays on power play 1, or do you think he stays with the PP2 unit that he's used to, and then they like elevate someone like Morgan Riley to the power play 1 unit? Like how? Like I'd be much more likely to play the cheap line 1 with Knees, Marner, Domi if he was on power play 1, but I also wouldn't have a problem if someone like Ekman Larson or Riley or one of these defensemen gets stepped up, and they're going to be underpriced for what you say if the Bruins give up a lot of penalties.
So they've already been practicing this morning at power play at practice, and it's going to be Riley, Marner, Tavares, Nylander, and Nyes. And then it's going to be Ekman Larson, Domi, Robertson, Pacioretty, and McMahon on power play 2. So it looks like Riley's going to go PP1, Nyes is going to be PP1, and Domi's going to just stick with the PP2. If Domi was on PP1, that would obviously be a much bigger deal. I wouldn't mind that, but it looks like he'll be on PP2.
Another situation we need to look out for today. Obviously, it's 11 in the morning, so this is kind of like a preview show, a first look. You should definitely join the Discord for more up-to-date news as the projections change and everything. But Braden Point for the Lightning. I'm not sure. It doesn't look like he's going to play today. I mean, we just got the Lightning Insider guy posting that they're calling up someone. So
yep.
Like at best, a game time decision or most likely unavailable. How does Point being out for the Lightning? I mean, the Lightning are, I wouldn't call them one of the top targets on the slate against the Blues. But what are the Lightning going to do now? What's going to happen? What's more likely to happen on their power play unit with Point out? Is it going to be more? Is someone like Paul or Cirelli going to be moving up to the PP1 unit? Which gives, you get a little bit more value playing there. Because, most of their players, the problem with the Lightning a lot of times is that if you want to play line 1, PP1, Hedman, Point, Gunsel, Kucherov, it's to play them all together, it's very expensive.
Super expensive.
Yeah, but once you add someone like Paul at 3,800 or Cirelli at 4,800, it becomes a little bit easier. But they've been playing PP2 time. So what do you think the Lightning are going to do?
I would assume my best guess would be it's going to be Nick Paul at 3,800, which would be awesome to get that kind of value. But I'm not 100% sure on that. But we might get that. We might get that news well before lock, and they might actually do some power play practice during morning skate. So we might actually know that information. Trying to find out if anybody replaced Point in the previous game.
Yeah, Dane just posted the comment that Chafee replaced
Point. Oh, Chafee. Okay. So Chafee replaced
but who
Point.
knows? But that could just be at the time to keep the power play 2 unit in check. And it's like, okay, we'll just go in for now, and who knows? Because obviously at 2,500, if he's going to be on PP1, that seems like a pretty good value play to me.
Yeah, if it's going to be Chafee at the Stone Men, that's pretty decent. I'm not 100% sure it's going to be him, so we'll have to wait and see. And it's not exactly like the best spot either. So, but if you're there and you need a min-price winger, I think that the opportunity cost at value wing is super high today. Like we even talked about how good some of these.
Let's talk. Okay, you're getting right into the stuff that I was talking about. We got a lot of value. I looked at the projections, and at wing, we got a couple of guys that seem like ridiculously underpriced for the spot. Obviously, the top spot on the entire slate, I think, is easily Colorado, the Avalanche. Yes. If you can play Nathan McKinnon, play Nathan McKinnon. Obviously, these guys are expensive, but Arturi Lehkonen is 3,500.
Yep.
We got the winger value is are there any more people than this? You got Lehkonen at 3,500 for the Avalanche. You got Blake Coleman at 4,200 for the Flames. He projects decently well. And then you also got Anders Lee. We have to talk about the Islanders as well against the Penguins. Anders Lee is 30. They haven't priced him up enough for his new role. Yeah, if you're gonna play, it's one of these slates, Tim, that these prices are low enough that my attitude is for this. If you're in this range, you're playing these types of guys. These guys, you're not going, well, everyone's going to play Lehkonen, and I'm going to just find some random $3,500 player that projects like 4 points lower. It's like, no, if you're in this range, you're playing these guys. Maybe you get more different in the 5, 6, 7K range, right? Rather than in this like value range. Is there anyone else? Or the main ones is Coleman maybe doesn't make that cut, but I mean, he's close to there. But I mean, Anders Lee, and it's, to me, it seems like Lehkonen is like how is he 3,500 in this spot?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really, really bad price by DK. They kind of dropped the ball there. But I mean, certainly somebody that we have to be taking advantage of. I mean, that McKinnon, Rantanen, Lehkonen line is going to be really, really popular. And it's going to be hard to get away from at least Lehkonen and at least McKinnon, like if you're playing cash games. But if you're playing that 555, this is probably going to be your most popular line. So like you're going to have to make a decision whether you want to be overweight or underweight this line if you're making multiple teams, because this should be the chalkiest line on the slate. Good call. I was wondering if you're going to bring up Blake Coleman, because I wanted to bring up Blake Coleman. I like him quite a bit as a pivot off of guys like Anders Lee and Arturi Lehkonen. But I mean, they're obviously Anders Lee, top line, top power play minutes. I have nothing bad to say about him. Really good spot. The Penguins have been struggling keeping the puck out of the net, so obviously it's a good spot for the Islanders. The only other person I'd mention who's a little bit more pricey, a little bit out of this range, Connor Garland, who's 4,700. I like him quite a bit. He's on the first power play unit, going up against the Ducks, so I don't mind him as a kind of a cheap-ish winger. And then another winger is John Gabriel Pajot, who is 3K.
3K.
Yeah. I mean, he's gonna
be this line in general. Like Tim, like it to me, like I built a dummy lineup, and like I could play Islanders power play 1, right? You could play Horvat, Lee, Pajot, and still play McKinnon and Lehkonen in your lineup with that, and still pay up for a defender and still play like a guy like Dobson alongside that first line. And I'm looking at this lineup and going, like, how I'm always surprised in NHL how not chalky some players end up being. I'm like, how does this not end up being the chalk? And then some guy will be like 13%. And I'm like, 13, that's it? Like, I expected him to be like 25%. And so it's leading towards that. But truthfully, I'm in the past, at least, you have to tell me, because I've been playing NHL DFS a little bit less this year. The Islanders, I just don't see as like a ceiling type of team. Do you really see like Islanders power play 1 just putting up 3 goals today against the Penguins? Because I think they're great for cash lineup type, like Pajot. Like it feels like the type of guy that they'll get 2 shots and that's it. And Anders Lee gets 3 shots and Horvat gets, like if they score 1 goal, like, okay, that's nice. You maybe having good double ups, but I'm not sure if the Islanders are the team that are going to put up 5, 6, 7 goals today.
But I mean, that's in relation to their ownership too, right? Part of that question. So like,
well, do you think they're going to be? Do you think they're going to be popular? Because the projections would say you should be jamming in the Islanders today.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's my biggest problem with the Islanders, is that I think they're going to be really, really highly owned. Like I ran 150 teams before we got on the show, and I was like, why am I getting just so much Bo Horvat? And then I was like, oh yeah, because he's connected to these super cheap wingers who are fully correlated on the first power play unit, and I'm thinking like, man, I don't know if I want to play like super chalky Islanders. It's not. I mean, it is a good spot, but I mean, if they're going to be super highly owned, I don't know if I necessarily want to roster them.
So who you looking at instead? We mentioned Blake Coleman before, so we got the Flames here. The problem with the Flames is that where can I find them? I love the matchup against the Canadiens, sure, but like their power play units are like all mixed up. My natural inclination is to just play Coleman with Backlund for line 2 because Backlund's 3,800, and then like you're using one value center, one value winger. Like you're able to kind of do whatever the hell you want in your lineup. Maybe play both of them with someone like Mackenzie Weegar at 6K. He's on the second defensive pair and the power play 1 unit. It's either that or you could go up to like Kadri at 6,100. But I don't know. I'm much more likely I think more people, if they play Coleman, will be playing Kadri in that lineup. And then you got obviously Huberdeau and Sharangovich in line 3. Like it's all their lines are all kind of, they play their lines fairly, even-ish enough. How would you stack the Flames? Or do you think Blake Coleman is just much more as just a one-off play than playing 3 or 4 of these Flames?
No, I mean, I think that you can get to like a Kadri, Coleman, Sharangovich, Huberdeau, maybe like a 4-man.
I just don't like Tim. I don't like playing guys that also play like across 3 different even strength units.
But you also get exposure to every line at even strength in a really amazing matchup. So I don't know, like maybe it's all contest dependent, but I don't mind kind of like getting exposure to a couple of different lines. So we're not even sure really. I don't think if Coleman's even going to be on the power play 1. It could end up being Coronado. But really that third line for Calgary, I like quite a bit. I think unfortunately that they're all wing eligible. There's no center on that line. As far as I know, I have to double check that.
No, I think Sharangovich is center eligible.
He is okay. So I mean that third line to me really isn't that bad. As like a pivot off some of the more popular Islanders. I mean, like I really like the matchup against Montreal.
Taking a look at some other teams, my natural inclination before I looked at projections or anything, my natural inclination is to play the Blue Jackets because they're facing the Sharks. These are 2 bad teams facing each other. I typically like to target these matchups because a lot of times you don't get to play these teams otherwise, and they tend to be underpriced. They don't project great, but they don't project poorly. What is your prognosis on? I mean, it's the latest game on the slate, but I'm not necessarily sure that people are going to be attacking this. And then I also see on the Shark side, I mean, we're talking about value plays, but Macklin Celebrini seems to have a pretty high projection for 3,900. But I'm not sure if, it's an 11-game slate. I'm playing the 555. It's like, am I going to play a Sharks 3-man in a 1,000 field contest? But I'm not sure about just playing Celebrini by himself. That seems odd.
I'm more inclined to play him by myself, but I don't mind Granlund and Toffoli. I mean that is not a bad line. I think the issue with the Blue Jackets is that they're all over that top line. They're all over 5,500 now. Like they used to be, like the beginning of the season, they were like this dirt cheap stack. Now they're not that way anymore. San Jose has shown a little bit of life lately also. And this game's in San Jose. So it does help the Sharks cause a little bit. But I'm really not on Columbus, but I don't really want to tell anybody not to play Columbus because it is the Sharks. But they are pricey.
For the pricing, maybe the Shark. I'm just saying I like targeting bad teams against. Like I play Chicago when they play a bad team, right? I like when 2 bad teams face each other. because it allows you to play a team that people get in the habit of playing certain teams. People don't get in the habit of playing the Blue Jackets and the Sharks. So if I get a chance to do that, unless you see other matchups, I expected the Canucks to project better, but they don't. I mean, outside of Garland, like my natural inclination was to maybe stack Vancouver, but I mean, is anyone going to do it? I mean, I feel like you could play Jake DeBrusk as a one-off, just like you play Connor Garland as a one-off. I just feel like Vancouver probably scores a bunch of goals against the Ducks.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a spot that I had circled. And just for the record, I would rather play a 3-man of San Jose, that top line, than the top line of Columbus. It's just tough because Granlund and Celebrini are both centers. So it kind of makes the stacking a little bit weird because you have to eat 2 center spots. But yeah, Vancouver was definitely a team that I had circled on my sheet as like a stack to use on the slate. Really all of Quinn Hughes, JT Miller, Elias Pettersson, Brock Besser, Connor Garland, like all those guys, I think rate out decently, but not amazing. And so I was looking at their total earlier, and they do have a pretty nice total of 3. It opened at 3.9. It's now down to 3.6, but still, that's a really solid total. And so I think that this Canucks team should do well. And I think of all the teams that we've talked about, like they're going to be way lower owned than the Islanders, than Colorado. They're definitely going to be lower owned than those 2 teams. So I don't mind getting to Vancouver at all.
Another game that I had circled. I mean, there's one team that I don't know if anyone's playing is the Los Angeles Kings, because how do you pay these prices for the Kings in this matchup against the Wild? I mean, it's Kopitar is 7,100 and he projects lower than some of the 3K defensemen. But I don't think anyone's. I mean, obviously Austin Matthews being out removes one of the high priced players, but I mean, to me, I never mind playing a low owned Kaprizov because he could break a slate at any time. So like, I feel as if like this is how I feel as far as lineup construction. I feel like playing. I'm never a big fan of playing McKinnon as a one off, because a lot of times when he hits a ceiling, he's taking line mates with him. So I feel like if I'm playing Lehkonen in a lineup, then I can play McKinnon. But if I'm not playing any Avalanche, I feel like I'd much more rather take a shot on someone like Kaprizov as a one-off, right? Because I'm not sure if you necessarily stack I'm not sure if the value is here to stack. Maybe you play a Kaprizov Faber 2-man or something. Maybe an Eriksson Ek, maybe a Zuccarello. I mean, I don't necessarily love to attack the Kings, but I just think the Wild ownership is going to be pretty damn low, and a guy like Kaprizov could show up with 4 points in any matchup.
I really don't mind Kaprizov as a one-off. The Kings are on the tail end of a back-to-back, so definitely the Wild have the rest advantage. But really, the Kings are not a team that I love to attack. Kaprizov as a one-off is completely fine because he can break a slate by himself. This is another total implied team total that's gone down since open, with the Wild, who opened as a 3.7. Now they're 3.4. But I don't think I have any interest outside of Kaprizov, and maybe Brock Faber as well.
Okay, what other teams would you be looking at that we have not mentioned yet? Obviously, we could talk about every team. The game that I'm really not getting to, like, I take a look at a game like the Flyers Hurricanes, and I go, I mean, I'd never play the Hurricanes, but they're the biggest favorite on the slate, right? It's just a matter of like
they have a 4 total, which is the largest on the slate. If I was
anyone can score.
MMEing,
The problem is
I
anyone
know,
like anyone
I
can
know.
score.
I know, but I mean, if I was MMEing, I would definitely be taking advantage of getting exposure to Carolina. I agree with you, though. It's hard to know which line. You're right. But I really don't mind getting to like some Svechnikov, some Nichas, and some Jarvis. That they're all guys that you can play. They're all in the power play one. Gostisbehere is fine. Aho's a little bit expensive in my opinion, but if you're going to play that line one, obviously you should include him. But I mean, this is a tough team to predict, and in my opinion, it's a tough team to project because they're so deep. And this is a matchup that they should, in theory, dominate. But getting into a couple pieces here and there in your script, I think, is something that you should be doing in a portfolio of teams.
What about Senators State Sabres? Do you have any interest in this game?
They're both. I would say that they're both fine. The team that I wanted to talk about was the Jets.
Okay.
They have the best power play. I mean, it's obviously not going to be this good all season, but they do have the best power play in all of hockey. They're connecting at a 44% clip. I think that Utah is really going to struggle in this matchup. So I think guys like Josh Morrissey, Kyle Connor, Gabriel Velarde, and Nikolai Ehlers, that whole first power play unit, that top line is fully correlated. I'm not a huge Scheifele guy, but I'm a huge Kyle Connor guy. So I think this is an amazing spot for Kyle Connor, and I think they'll be low owned enough that if you just wanted to pick out one-offs like Kyle Connor or a one-off of Nikolai Ehlers, I think they're in a fantastic spot. I haven't looked at the actual game line yet, but this is one where I might consider laying the 1.5 with the Jets. I'm not exactly sure. I don't have my sports book up yet, but I think the Jets really dominate this game, and it's probably going to be coming from that top line.
Well, I was looking heavily at Velarde as a one-off because with Lehkonen and Anders Lee and Blake Coleman, Velarde's 4,500. Like, wing value is plentiful. To me, it's easy to play. And if you're not going to play one of these guys, you play Velarde at 4,500, right? A little bit higher up, right? And you could still play another wing value. You could play Lehkonen and Velarde lineups. I mean, you could play these cheap wingers. And Kyle Connor probably goes way low owned because I think very similar to Kaprizov. I think because we have so much wing value on the slate, the high price wingers are the ones that are going to totally get squeezed, right?
Yes.
The high price centers, I'll be a little bit higher on than you think. I think some of the high price defenders will be a little higher on than you think. Yep. But the high price wingers, like, you only have so many spots to fill and you got so much value at wing. I'll take a 30-pointer at wing when, the value guy gets 10. And as long as you correlate your stacks right, I mean, I think lineup construction wise, the thing is, Tim, I wouldn't fade all the wing value. Like, I'm not going to make a lineup where I'm just paying up at wing and paying down at center and defense, because you're going to see that your projection is like 15 points off trying to do something like that. But I think build your lineup and then go, okay, well, I'm going to go down at center and up at wing, and then that's your lineup. Because all you need is one of these higher price wingers to like put up 30 plus points, and you're gonna have you're gonna be way ahead of the field, especially if the wing value guys don't. If you get a 3-point Anders Lee game, like, you're not gonna have to worry. But I mean, most of these winger value guys are much more likely to put up 10 to 15 points rather than 25 to 30.
No, I completely agree. If I was making let's say 5 to 10 teams in the $20 or the $5.55, whatever you're playing in, I'm going to be getting to some of these popular wingers because they're in such good spots. But I would be paying attention to what I put around them. Like, don't go don't go Colorado 1, Islanders 1, because then you're eating a ton of ownership on an 11 game slate. You're really making yourself like a very, very narrow path to the top. But I mean, I'm not saying you can't play those two lines. I would just pay attention to what you're playing around them.
Okay, before we get out of here, goalkeeper, which typically you shouldn't really
Goalkeeper.
want to talk about. I mean, it's Swayman now with Matthews out. Does Matthews being out actually help Swayman? Or does it actually hurt him? Do you actually want more shots? Because obviously the line's going to go down with Matthews out, and he's already priced at 7,300. So there's going to be some like win equity value. Like maybe that the pricing of these goalkeepers should have been 78, 76 rather than 81, 73. Do you think that's warranted, or what other? I mean, typically I'm not paying up at goalkeeper. So what are these like mid-price, low-price goalkeepers that you're looking into? Because another that, I mean, I was looking into playing if the Canucks are going to shoot a ton, and I may not be playing the Canucks. I was looking at like someone like Lucas Dostal. He doesn't project very well, but I mean, typically when you play these cheap ass goalkeepers, you're praying. You're going, please just save a lot of shots. But I mean, even got someone like Connor Ingram against the Jets. I mean, I'm just kind of looking for teams that are going to face a lot of shots.
So just my opinion, though, I'm really, really high on Winnipeg. Obviously, I could be wrong. I don't have interest in Ingram. I understand that he's cheap. If you want to go that route, I would say it's up to you. The one interesting guy who's more expensive than I thought he would be, who's in a really good spot to get volume, is Sam Montembeault for the Canadiens against the Flames. It's not. I expect that the Flames should probably do well from a possession point of view, and they tend to shoot kind of like low percentage shots. So I think I don't think a lot of people are going to want to pay $7,800 for him. I think he's a really interesting GPP goalie. I think for Swayman, it's a net positive to have Matthews being out, even though it might take away a couple of shots, but it certainly helps him, I think, in the win equity department. It probably helps him.
Is that the same, Tim? Would that be the same for Binnington with Braden Point out?
Well, comparing Matthews and Brandon Point, it's not even close. Matthews is a far superior player. So I wouldn't go that far with Brandon Point, but I think it does matter with Matthews a little bit. I think Linus Allmark for the Senators against the Sabres is a decent spot at 7,500. I think Sorokin's going to be like your cash game guy if you don't want to go down to Swayman. I really try to stay away from goalies that are like over 8K, just because they rarely are in spots where they have good volume. So right now, for me, it's looking like Swayman, Allmark, Montembeault, or even perhaps what you said, Dostal. Dostal was like on fire until his last start, and he should get pretty significant volume.
But as always with goalies, it's the shrug emoji. It's here's the varies position. Who knows?
I think goalies are really just a combination of starting pitcher in baseball and defense in NFL DFS. It's like some kind of sit combination between those two.
Right. It's a position that puts up on average more points than any other position, and the range of outcomes is here to across the street.
I really wish they priced goalies like they do defense, because having this be like 16% of your cap or whatever is really, really it's tough. It's a huge portion of your cap, and it's like such a
huge
high
portion of your score. I mean, it's
right.
Defense in NFL is not a huge portion of your score. right?
Right.
8 points, 6 points, 10 points, whatever. Goalkeeper, it's like, you did you get 4 points or did you get 34 points? And the 34-point goalkeeper is someone that gave up 3 goals, and the 4-point goalkeeper only gave up 1 goal. And you're like, how is this reflective of real life? It's not.
Right. Yep.
So anything else about the slate other than join the Discord and definitely get all the news and when the projections are updated and everything. I think is probably I think it's the best NHL DFS resource around and possibly the best DFS resource around.
It's up there. I think it's quite a service that we provide our people in Discord.
I probably will not be participating in the Discord tonight because come 7 o'clock, I only decided to play one lineup. First off, the payout structures are not great, so I got a ticket into the 555. I'm going to play my one lineup, and then I'm gonna make. My goal is to, even if I win the 555, make more money on election betting than what's the top prize? What is the top prize in the 555?
200K.
100K. 200.
No,
okay,
200.
I think I'd rather win it. Okay. I don't think I'm going to make that much on election betting, but yeah, but I'm going to be paying much more attention to the poll results and everything coming in than the NHL stuff. That's why I will have the Discord open just in case goalkeeper gets changed or a line is moved and stuff like that. So you should do the same. And I know Tim, we've been on shows and it's like, well, I don't have any NFL props or NBA props, but you do have you have more election bets than you do have sports props.
I do. It's true, but I am betting I'm going to bet the Jets -1.5 at +124 on DK. I'm going to bet that one.
Okay, which are you more confident in, that or on your main election bet?
I'm much more confident in my main election bet.
I would also.
Which I will keep to myself.
Well, I mean, you can't get the price that you got anymore, so it doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah.
Okie doke. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out the door. Give me those thummy thumbs. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here. Hit the notification bell to know when we go live. Obviously, we got NHL tonight, so join us here. Get a combo premium subscription. Get all of our projections and ownership. Get the props and pick and package. Get everything. SimLabs for all 4 major sports. Click on that link in the description. Get $40 off your first month. I'll be back tomorrow with a first look of week 10. We're up to week 10 in NFL, right? It's week 10 coming up. I lose count. But whatever the next week number is, I'll doing a first look preview.
It's 10.
Preview of it's 10. It's 10. Okay. For week 10, NFL DFS. Then Thursday we'll be doing props and pick 'em for NFL. And then Friday, Bobby Gomes will be on. We'll be doing GPP strategy, and we'll trucking along as we are. Next Tuesday we'll probably do an NBA because NBA will be on and Tim will be back. So yeah. So until then, I'll be here with you on most weekdays, 11 o'clock in the morning, talking about all things you're thinking about in daily fantasy props and pick 'em on RotoGrinders Today.